All right, let's get started. Hi, everyone, and welcome to our weekly 30-minute webinar. My name is Brian McKay, Systems Engineer here at Variphy. I'll be your host for today's session, where we are going to be talking about Webex Calling report templates. Here to walk us through it, we have Mike Stratton, fellow Systems Engineer here at Variphy. How you doing today, Mike?
Good, Brian. What's going on?
Not much. Just enjoying the warm weather. Getting nicer every week here. Loving it. All right, so please note that these webinars are always recorded and posted within 24 hours. So if you have to leave early or just want to be able to review it again at your own pace, check the webinars page on our website for all past and upcoming sessions. Let's go ahead and start off with a quick overview of our company and what we do, and then we'll jump into a live demo where Mike's going to guide us through the WebEx report templates, including where to get them and how to utilize them. We'll pause for a Q&A briefly after the demo. If you have any questions, please make sure to ask them in the Q&A panel in the bottom right corner of your screen. After Q&A, we'll reward one lucky attendee a $50 Amazon gift card, so hang around to see if you've won. Let's go into a quick overview of Verify. And this slide is always growing all the time, it seems. We're adding new things. Verify is the preferred analytics and management solution for Cisco collaboration, deployable either on-prem or as a hosted cloud solution. We provide industry-leading CDR reporting and call analytics, as well as customizable dashboards and widgets, UCCX reporting, remote phone control, change management, Cisco Cube CDR, and our latest additions, Zoom and WebEx call reporting. If you have any questions on any of our features, please contact us at support@verify.com or simply reach out to your account manager. And one more thing before we get started, for an additional fee, Verify offers an enhanced consulting service to our customers. Verify's SE team engages with you on a one-on-one basis to remotely provide additional consulting, report building, dashboard configuration, and system monitoring assistance. This is a service that provides you with a dedicated Verify support engineer to do the heavy lifting for you, giving you a stress-free, hands-off experience. For more information, please contact us or your account manager, and we'd be glad to speak more in depth about pricing and terms of service for our enhanced consulting services, or ECS. All right, and with that, let's get into the wild. I'm going to make you presenter, Mike.
All right.
And should be over to you now.
Let me move some stuff around before I should have done this earlier, but we'll just kind of around. Okay, there we go. Boom. All right. Should be seeing the web page. Let's move WebEx out of the way, and we are off and running. Okay. Hello, everyone. We're going to go over. Well, I'm going to go over the WebEx reporting or WebEx calling reporting templates. So like we have for Call Manager, Cube, CCX, and Zoom, we have some templates available that you can download from our website, import them into your Verify system, whether it's cloud-based or on-site based or on-prem, and then have some just sample reports you can play with, run, alongside any of the reports you want to build. So first things first, where do you get them from? So on our website here, if you go to, where's my mouse? There we go. Go to support, and then product downloads. If you're not logged in, it'll prompt you to log in. I'm not logged in. Okay, let's try it again. With the capture where we teach AI what a fox is. I'll try it again with the fox, and then we're all set. So go ahead and log in. Okay. And then scroll down, and underneath the software downloads, you'll see a couple different links for each of the different templates. So the WebEx calling templates are the second one down. Click on the download template button, and then it'll take you to the next page, which is the download page. Click on download now. You'll see here, bottom left corner, we'll get some zip file. Go ahead and drag that over. We're going to unzip. I'll extract them here. And then we have for WebEx calling 9 different files or 9 different reports that you can import into your system. You can select one, you can select all of them, and then you're not just you don't have to import all the templates. So back in the Verify software, back in WebEx calling and the reporting, go to reports, and in the reports menu, hover over the create WebEx report text, and you'll see an option to import the reports. Select the files, go to your downloads folder or wherever you want to zip the files, select them all, or select one, select all, however many you want. Click open, and then click import reports, and then the software in about a second or two will import all the templates. I already have them here. And then there, you're all set and ready to go. And each user can import their own. You can import yours and share them out to the other users, however you want to do it. And then you're all set. So each of these templates in our knowledge base, back to the knowledge base, each of the templates has an article in the knowledge base that'll, give you information on how to run it, what's included in the report, or any changes you may have to make to the report to run it in your environment. So from the knowledge base, if you type, Webex templates, if I can type, the top result, or the only result really, for Webex calling templates takes you to the main page for the Webex templates. So here we have a list of all the different reports. There's a page for each. Each page or each article for the reports will give you information such as like the sample report if you want to download it, any important screenshots, and if there's any changes you need to make or any optional changes you can make that we recommend or may recommend depending upon your situation or scenario, we'll list them here. So a little bit of an overview, and then how the report is built. This first report really isn't a great example for any sort of changes you need to make. Let's do the call queue summary report instead. So for the call queue summary report, like here, we'll see something like required changes because this report is created with our default call queues that come from our system. So in your environment, you would just need to replace the call queues with call queues of your own, kind of stuff like that. So I'm going to go through our lab here and just kind of do like a brief overview of each of the reports. Most of this information though is going to be contained in the knowledge base. So if you miss it or forget something, you can always go back to the knowledge base, pull up those articles, and see what the reports are all about. So first report is, let's move this out. We'll keep it here. The first report is going to be the 911 calls report. This report is very straightforward. We have the same report available for the call manager and the Zoom reporting platform as well. Let me put a sample report here. The sample report, basically, this report is designed to provide, just a brief summary and detail for all the calls where a user dialed 911. So here, let me make it a little bigger. Here we have our basic search set with the search set statistics where we show how many 911 calls were placed. In this example, one total call, the call duration was 3 minutes and 7 seconds. Average duration, again, one call would be 3 minutes and 7 seconds. The next part of the report will show you the group here. We're taking the calling party name. So we're grouping on the calling party name, or we're grouping on the agent or user, not agent, but user who placed the call. So we can see, if there were a dozen 911 calls, we can break them down and group them by user and show how many calls each user placed. And then if you click on the user, it'll take you to the detail for that user where you can see, detail on the call, when they placed the call, the duration for that specific call, and some additional information as well. There's not a whole lot to this report, and as far as the configuration goes, with the search sets, we're just looking for where the called party number equals 911. If you have other methods of dialing 911, like maybe you have to dial 8 to dial out or dial 9, you can have 8911. You can add 8911 or even just 9911, and then save the report and run it that way as well. You can, again, all these templates can be modified just the same as any other save report. So if you want to add columns, take away columns, turn on or off different features, you can do so within the report. Next report, the call queue agent report. This report is going to show you the number of calls coming into one or more of your call queues. Now, our call queue reports are very similar to the hunt group reports, except that we're just we're looking at call queues instead of hunt groups. And for the call queues, we have queue stats, like how many calls were queued, and like queue times as well. So let's bring up this sample here. So call queue report here starts off with the search set statistics. Here in this one says hunt group calls. We should change that. It should say call queue. Actually, it should say, based on the template, it should say all calls with duration greater than 0. But we have just some basic stats at the call queue level. So how many calls were answered? What is the total call duration? Or what's total average duration, total call duration, queue call counts, and then queued call average queue duration. So how many calls were queued, how many calls were answered. Underneath, then we have grouping showing each of the agents who received the calls or who answered the call from the call queue. So big difference between if you're coming to Webex reporting from call manager call manager data. The big difference between the hunt group and the call queue information in Webex with what we were getting in call manager is we get a record in Webex for every time a call is presented to an agent. So in call manager data, we only get a record if the call is answered by an agent. Webex is different. We get a record for every time a call is presented. So like especially with like hunt groups where you see like calls being broadcast to the team, we get a record for every single time. So if there's 5 agents in a hunt group, the call is broadcast to all 5 agents. We get 4 zero duration records for the agents who didn't answer the call, and then for the 1 agent who answered the call, we get a call record with duration. So I'll show you that more so in the hunt group data. But so what I'm trying to get to is in the call queue and in the hunt group reports, total call counts is not going to give you the total call count or the total number of answered calls. It's going to give you the number of presented calls, whereas in the call manager data, it's giving you, that would be the number of answered calls. So if you're trying to replicate some hunt reports from the call managers, the old call manager data, rely on the answered call count, not the total call counts, unless you want to see presented versus answered. Then in that case, you can add total call count to see how many calls were presented. So, and then on the required changes side, when you're configuring the report, so there's a couple different criteria used in the search set. We have call duration greater. We're looking for calls greater than 0, so I'm excluding those presented call legs. I only want to see answered in this report. I'm also looking at where the called party user type is user. So we get multiple records. We get one record for the call queue or for the hunt group, as we'll see in the next couple reports. I'm only filtering it on the legs that were applied to the users. And then we also are filtering on the call queue. So for these two here, you can keep the same, but when running this report, you want to replace our or fill in the call queue criteria with one or more call queues from your system. And then the next report is the call queue summary report. This is the same type of report as the previous report, except we're looking more so at the call queue stats, not at the agent stats. So here, let me pull up my sample. Summary. So this sample reports, we're looking at the same queue, different time range, but we have 11 total calls into the queue, 11 calls were answered, 0 calls in this report were queued, queue call percentage was 0%, average queue duration, and then not connected. So the difference between why these calls don't count as queued is because every time the call hit the queue in this data, the call was delivered or presented right to an agent. So there wasn't, the caller didn't have to wait in the queue. So if a caller had to wait for an agent to become available, then the call is marked as queued, and you'll see a call represented in this count. So we have the queue-based stats here, and then a chart underneath that just shows total calls, answer calls, not connected, and then queue calls underneath for each queue. In this case, there's just the finance queue. And let's open up the article for that. As far as the required changes go, same thing as the previous reports. We just need to jump in there and change the search set. So in this case, this search set is now, instead of looking where the previous report for the user-based report was filtering the user type on user, this one is looking for one of the 2 different call center user types, so call center premium or call center standard. So now we're looking over this is selling the software to pull in the call queue level records into the report. So this can stay the same. Just swap out or just select your call queue from the list or call queues from the list, and to include them in the report. All right, and then moving on, detail by extension or by phone number. So straightforward report. This is much like the call history export if you've run that before. This report returns all inbound and outbound call traffic for one or more extensions. So when running it, some of these guys. When running it, it's going to, let me jump back in here. So when you run the report or when you're configuring the report under the search set, you can add in the extension or the phone number that you want to run the report on. Our sample report will default to 3814, but when you edit the report, just add in your extension or your caller ID or your DN, or you can add in multiple numbers and then save the report. When you run it, you'll get back the search set stats for the number or numbers. So here in this case, we have 28 total calls for 3814 with our average call duration and the total call duration. The next section down will give you the details. So for all 28 calls, we'll see the detail for each. So date time when the call began, call duration, ring time, who placed the call, the number the call came from, the type or the client type where the call came from, who was called, what number was dialed, what client type was dialed, and then the direction of the call. So we can see if it's internal, outgoing, or terminating. And as far as changes, like I mentioned, just add in the extension or numbers that you're looking for, and then save the report. You can also add it. You can also enable Cradle to Grave, add in grouping or different search statistics if you want to. Okay. Next report. Now we're getting into the hunk reports. Let's go ahead and load that sample. So the hunk group summary by agent report is pretty similar to the call queue summary by agent report. We're just swapping out hunk groups for call queues. This report is going to, before you run it, you will need to select your hunk group from the list. So we have 3 in our sample or our example here. We're also, again, filtering on calls where the duration was greater than 0 seconds. So we're removing those 0 duration, the calls, the legs or the records where the call was presented to an agent and not answered. So this report will only look at the calls that were answered by an agent. So here in this case, select your hunk group from the list. And when you run it, you'll get something much like this, where the stats at the top will show you how many calls came into your hunk group or hunk groups. So at the agent level, there were 18 answered calls with an average call duration of 5 minutes and 23 seconds in this case, with a total call duration of over an hour and a half. Then the next section down, we are grouping it based upon the call party name, and this is showing us which or how many calls were answered by each agent, or out of the calls that came into the hunk groups, who answered the calls. So we can see our list of agents. And that's it for the report. Simple 2-page report. But if you want to add detail, you can definitely add detail which will appear in the report, or you can add Cradle to Grave or different stats that you want to maybe break down these call counts by hour or by date. Next reports is the hunk group summary. So much like the call queue summary report, it's going to act in the same way. So bring up that guy. Same thing as the previous hunk group report, where under the search sets, just remove, or they wouldn't be there, but add your hunk groups to the list, either one or more hunk groups, and then when you run the report, the results will look like this. So this report is going to skip the call stats and jump right into grouping. So we're grouping it based on the call hunk group. So if you have more than one hunk group in your criteria, you will see stats for each hunk group. So we have total call count, answer call counts. So we're showing called and presented, or presented and handled, how many calls were not connected, so they were not connected to an agent, and then the not connected call percentage, the total average call duration, and the total call duration for each hunk group. The next section down is going to, there's more hunk groups there. Next section down then will give us a graph for each hunk group in the report, which will show us total calls, answered calls, and then not connected calls by hour. That's it for the report. Next report in the list is the location summary report. So the location summary report will give you inbound and outbound stats for one or more location. And if you don't know what a location is, in Webex Control Hub, if you go under the user settings, there's when setting up the user, you can associate it to a location. It's kind of like a department, and it's one of the few fields that Cisco Webex, allows you to configure as far as some sort of organizational hierarchy. So, get that out of the way. When running the reports, same idea as the hunk group report. Here, we're just using the calling or called party location. So we're looking for everything inbound or outbound from our list of locations here. In your system, you would want to populate this with the locations in your environment. If you only want to see calls going in one direction, not both directions, from the criteria dropdown, you can select calling party location. If you want to see outbound traffic, if you want to see inbound traffic, you can select called party location instead of seeing all traffic in or out. For the sample reports, for the sample report, in our example, we just have the one location, but we're showing total call count, originating call count, terminating call count, originating total call duration, terminating total call duration, and then average call duration for inbound and outbound calls. So it looks like in this example, all the calls are coming in or out of just one location, or all the users are associated to a single location. But if you have multiple locations, because we're doing the grouping, you'll see a different row for each location. All right. Next report is going to be the manager summary report. So much like all the other reports, before you run it, hop into the search sets and then select the manager you want to see, or managers. In this case, we have a couple of different managers or users already selected. So this will show you, or this will filter the data based upon the managers associated to the user. So we have a couple of managers here. When the report runs, it's going to query the users and then group them by manager. So here's Angeline. Angeline's the manager, and then we're doing a secondary grouping. Let's go back to the reports. So under the grouping stats, we have the primary grouping type is calling or called party manager. The secondary grouping type then is calling or called party name. So we're showing here in the bold text, this is the manager, and then everyone underneath until you get to the next bold set of bold text are the users under that manager. So here's the manager, here's all the users under that manager, so we can show the individual stats for each user plus like the grand total of stats. So these aren't Angeline's total call counts. These are the total call counts for all the users under Angeline. So total call count, inbound, outbound call, outbound, inbound call counts, and then the durations for all calls, outbound, inbound, and the average durations as well. And then it'll repeat for each manager that you've selected with the same stats, and then with the same secondary grouping as well. And again, if you want to turn on detail, if you're on Crow the Grave or other stats, you can as well. Then yeah, so I covered that and that. I think we're all set here. And then the final report is going to be the user call history. So the user call history report is much like the detail by extension and kind of like the manager report as well, where in the search set, you're selecting the calling or called party user. So if you want to run a report so instead of running a report on an extension, you could run a report on a user's name or multiple users for that case. So here, we're showing all inbound outbound traffic, but like the other, like the location report or like the manager report, if you only want to see inbound or outbound traffic, not both, sort or search the criteria for user, you can just report on the calling party user or the called party user too if you want to. But in this case, select your user from the drop-down list. Also, if you haven't noticed this from the reports, there's a little text here that says is. So this is saying that we are including this user in the report. If you want to exclude them instead, click on it once and it becomes is not. I feel like a lot of our users don't realize this is a feature. So instead of just, so if you want to select your users by excluding some, you could do it that way.
Yeah, it's easy to miss that one.
Yeah, very easy to miss that one.
I've done it before too.
And so yeah, it's basic report, same idea like the other reports. Let me bring up the sample. Sample reports. And then so we're showing you the stats for whichever user, how many users you've selected. And then underneath we're including detail. So who called, where they called, how they called, when they called, and that kind of stuff. But if you have multiple users in the report and you want to see counts and average durations and all that for each user, not just like a grand total, you can definitely turn on the grouping. Add on or name calling calling or called party name, and then add, selecting the list here to add your stats there as well too. So I think we have a few minutes left, kind of quick. But if you have any questions or if you have any, if you want to review these reports, the knowledge base articles are always here. Outside of that, if you have any other questions down the road, not just today, but like down the road, definitely reach out to us and let us know. So Brian, I'll pass it back to you.
All right, excellent.
Is there any Q&A
Thank you,
or
Mike.
anything? Yep.
Some good information there. We do have a couple questions. Let me just get the screen sharing back to me real quick. And then to share this one. All right, you should see me on the Q&A panel now. Okay, and we do have a couple questions. First one was, how are we able to differentiate between a Webex calling statistic and a CUCM calling statistic if we have a hybrid environment?
So in that case, Webex and CUCM will be different. What we used to call clusters, now we call platforms. So just think of like a different data source. So you can jump between the two. So like the Webex calling data will be separate from the call manager data. So like you can't cross the two reports.
All right, excellent. And the second question was, is this webinar referring to Webex contact center stats as Mike is referencing agents and queues?
No, it's not. It's referring to the Webex calling stats and then the call queues or the calling queues, not the I say agents, but I should probably usually say users instead. It's kind of
I think we got to have to say agents a lot for everything.
It is it's a bad habit. I really mean users. Users that are part of the call queues or users that are part of the hunt groups. However, though, Webex Contact Center is on the roadmap. I don't want to promise a date or anything yet because that would be unfair to that team. But it is on our roadmap. It is coming. So hopefully in the future I will be able to talk about agents and actually mean Webex Contact Center.
All right, sounds good. I think that was all the questions we had. Let's go ahead and move on to the part everybody's been waiting for, the announcement of the gift card winner. And today's randomly selected winner is, whoops, skipped ahead. Rafael Ochoa. Congratulations, you won a $50 Amazon gift card. Your account manager will be reaching out to you today to get that to you. All right, I think that about wraps it up. Thanks again to everybody who attended today. We do appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. Our next session is going to be on July 19th, next week, when Dre and Matt will be talking about how to build a contact center style dashboard without a contact center. So this is in reference to our newest feature, which is called the real-time hunt pilot widget. So you'll definitely want to join us for that. Thanks again, everyone, and we will see you next time.